When a liberal woman activist threw a stone at Donald Trump at a public rally in the heart of Washington, D.C., no one expected his calm response to steal the show. The event was meant to be a peaceful demonstration, advocating for free speech and social justice, held in the shadow of the Capitol. The air was charged with the fervor of activism, the crowd a sea of signs and slogans, united by their passion for change. The rally was set in a park known for its history of hosting protests, the trees whispering tales of past movements. Among the chants and speeches, the atmosphere was electric, with speakers from various backgrounds taking the stage to address issues from climate change to civil rights. The sun was setting, casting long shadows as if the day itself was holding its breath for what was to come. Trump, now out of office but still a polarizing figure, had decided to attend this rally, not to speak but to observe, perhaps to learn or to challenge his own perspectives. His presence was unexpected, causing a ripple of shock and tension through the crowd. He stood near the back, his security detail close but discreet, his expression one of curiosity rather than confrontation. His attire was simple, a stark contrast to his usual flamboyance, signaling perhaps a new chapter or at least a moment of humility. The day's keynote speaker was a young, fiery activist named Alex Rivera, known for their sharp wit and relentless pursuit of social justice. Dressed in a vibrant, colorful outfit that stood out against the sea of black and white protest signs, Alex was the embodiment of modern activism. Their speech had been building to a crescendo, touching on themes of unity, equality, and the need for systemic change. As Alex spoke, the crowd was engaged, but a moment of silence fell when, from the crowd, a stone was hurled towards Trump. The stone, meant perhaps more as a symbol of anger and frustration than real harm, flew through the air, its trajectory clear to all. Gasps and shouts rang out as security moved to intercept, but Trump, with a surprising agility, caught the stone before it reached him. The crowd froze, the tension palpable, every eye now on Trump, the stone in his hand, and the young woman who had thrown it, a figure in her mid-20s now standing out, looking shocked at her own action. This activist named Jasmine was known among the local activist circles for her passionate but sometimes radical methods of protest. Her face under the harsh light of the setting sun showed a mix of defiance and immediate regret. She wore a simple t-shirt with a poignant slogan, "Unity over division," which seemed to clash with her action. Trump, instead of reacting with anger or calling for the activist's arrest, looked at the stone, then at the crowd, his face calm, almost thoughtful. He walked slowly towards the stage, the stone still in his hand, security trailing behind in confusion, unsure of the protocol for such an unprecedented moment. Reaching the podium, he placed the stone gently beside the microphone, his actions deliberate. "This," he began, his voice steady, "is not just a stone. It's a symbol of the frustration, the anger, the pain that many feel. I see that now." The crowd was silent, all eyes on him, expecting anything from a rebuttal to a spectacle. Instead, Trump continued, "I came here today not to argue or to defend my past actions, but to listen, to see what this movement is about, from the perspective of those who feel unheard." He turned towards Alex, who stood beside him, visibly shaken by the turn of events. "Alex, you've spoken with passion about the need for change, about unity. I've seen today that this isn't just about one side over another. It's about all of us wanting a country that represents its people, truly represents them." The activist who threw the stone, Jasmine, was brought to the front by security, not in handcuffs but to stand near the stage. Trump looked at Jasmine. "You could have hurt me, but what would that change?" "Nothing. But this," he gestured to the stone, "this has opened a conversation." Jasmine, with a mix of defiance and regret in her eyes, stood there, the weight of the moment heavy upon her. I didn't mean to hurt anyone, just to be heard," she stammered, her voice breaking under the scrutiny of thousands. Trump's response was not about condemnation, but about understanding. Being heard doesn't require violence. It requires dialogue, respect, and sometimes a lot of listening, he said, his voice carrying the weight of experience. He then looked directly at Jasmine. "I see your passion, but let's channel it into something that can truly change hearts and minds." The speech was not long, but it was profound. It wasn't an apology, nor was it a political statement. It was a moment of unexpected humanity from a man known for his divisiveness. As he stepped back, the crowd erupted not in boos or jeers, but in a slow, hesitant applause, some out of respect for the moment, others in disbelief. A few even began to cheer, not for Trump's past politics, but for this unexpected moment of grace. Alex, now next to Trump, found their voice again. This, this is what activism is about. Challenging, yes, but also about opening dialogues where we least expect them. Thank you, Mr. Trump, for showing up, for listening. The rest of the rally took on a new tone. Discussions that had been polarized softened into exchanges of ideas. Activists, who had come prepared for confrontation, found themselves in conversations with supporters of Trump, sharing not just their grievances, but their hopes for America. Jasmine, who had thrown the stone, became involved in these discussions, her initial act of aggression turning into a catalyst for change. She spoke with various attendees, her story of frustration and the subsequent dialogue becoming a focal point of the rally. The story of this rally spread like wildfire across media platforms. News outlets struggled to frame it, some calling it a staged event for publicity, others seeing it as a genuine moment of growth. Social media was alight with debates, but the core message of unexpected unity and the power of listening resonated with many. Clips of Trump's speech in the moment with Jasmine went viral, sparking discussions on social media about the nature of activism and the potential for personal transformation. Jasmine's face became an emblem of this new narrative, her story shared in countless posts and articles. For Trump, this was not just another public appearance. It was a moment of reflection, perhaps a turning point. He returned to his life, still engaged in business and politics, but his approach to public discourse had visibly shifted, focusing more on listening than on speaking. He even began to engage with smaller community groups, aiming to understand the grassroots movements he had once criticized. His social media posts started to reflect a more introspective tone, often citing lessons learned from that day's events. He was invited to speak at several universities on the topic of leadership and listening in a divided America, where he shared his experience at the rally. For Alex and Jasmine, the rally became a defining moment in their activism careers. They became known not just for their actions, but for their ability to foster dialogue, to see beyond the labels to the person. They continued to advocate, but with a new dimension to their activism, one that included bridging divides. Jasmine, in particular, decided to channel her passion into organizing educational events rather than confrontational protests, focusing on workshops that taught nonviolent communication and community organizing. In the aftermath, a new initiative was born, named Dialogues for Democracy, where former political adversaries would meet to discuss common ground, inspired by the day's events. This initiative aimed to turn the symbolic stone into a foundation for understanding and cooperation. It held its first event in the same park, with both Trump and Jasmine speaking, this time about the importance of dialogue and democracy. The event was a success, leading to a series of discussions across the country where people from all political spectrums came together to discuss, learn, and heal divides. The impact of that day was felt in the legislative halls as well. Lawmakers from different parties referenced the incident when discussing bills related to free speech, public safety at protests, and the need for bipartisan cooperation. It became a touchstone moment, often cited in debates about how to handle political discourse in an increasingly polarized world. A bill was even proposed, named after the event, to promote civic education with an emphasis on dialogue and conflict resolution. In the community, the stone that Jasmine had thrown became a symbol not of violence, but of transformation. A small memorial was set up in the park, where the stone was placed, alongside messages of hope, unity, and change from visitors. This spot became a place where people from all walks of life came to reflect, to discuss, or simply to remember the possibility of change. Over time, it evolved into a community center for dialogue, where regular events were held to foster understanding and cooperation. Years later, the story of Donald Trump and the stone at the rally became a part of American lore, taught in schools not just as a moment of political intrigue, but as a profound lesson in empathy, the power of listening, and the potential for every individual, no matter how divisive, to play a role in healing societal divides. Documentaries were made, books were written, and it became a study in how one moment could alter public perception and inspire a movement towards unity. The legacy of that day was not just in the headlines but in the lives it touched. It led to new friendships, collaborations between unlikely allies, and a rethinking of what it means to engage in political discourse. Trump's approach to public life changed, focusing more on legacy and less on legacy's traditional metrics of power and wealth. Alex and Jasmine's work continued to grow, becoming beacons for a new kind of activism, where change was pursued not just through protest but through partnership. Jasmine went on to write a book about her experience, titled The Stone of Unity, which became a bestseller, providing insights into activism, personal growth, and the transformative power of dialogue. She and Alex founded an organization that worked on bridging political divides through art, music, and storytelling, emphasizing the human elements that connect us all. In the end, the rally at the park was more than an event. It was a narrative about the human capacity for change, the unexpected places where unity can be found, and how even the hardest hearts can learn from moments of vulnerability. It was a day when a stone thrown in anger turned into a cornerstone for unity, a reminder that in the right hands, even the simplest objects can become tools for transformation.